मस्जिद में इमामत करवा के बताएं हाथ खोल के मस्जिद के पीछे भी
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to the session of Quran for Ramadan. Today we'll be looking at the second part of the verses that we studied yesterday in Surah Luqman. So remember, Luqman was a very revered saint and sage of the Arab tradition, and the Arabs, especially the Bani Ismail, they looked up to him and they would often follow him and quote him for their own children as well. So it is he who has been quoted here in Surah Luqman, and precisely this is the reason why the surah has been named after him, because it has a part of his advice and counsel to his child, to his adult child actually, when he was handing over the reins of the tribe to his son. And it seems that it was at this instance that he had spelled out this advice. So we studied part of his advice yesterday, and the remaining we'll study today. So it starts off with these words, Ya bunayya, Ya bunayya in taku miskala habbatin min khardalin fatakun fi sakhratin aw fi samawat aw fil ard ya'ti biha Allah inna Allah latifun khabir. Ya bunayya aqim as-salat wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar wasbir 'ala ma asabak inna zalika min azmil umur. Luqman had said, Son, the fact is that if a deed is equal to even the grain of a mustard seed, then whether it is a small mountain pass or is in the heavens or in the earth, God shall retrieve it. Indeed, God is discerning. He is aware of everything. Son, be diligent in the prayer. Urge what is good and forbid evil, and when whatever mishap strikes you in this path, be steadfast on it. It is because these are the tasks which have been emphasized. ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور واقصد واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير. And be not indifferent to people, and walk not arrogantly on the land, because God does not like the arrogant and the conceited. Be moderate in your gait, and keep your voice toned down. In reality, the most hideous of voices is the braying of the donkey. So, viewers, as you can clearly see, this advice as it goes on, it engulfs almost all the basic teachings of Islam. And as such, we can see that there is no difference between the message of the Quran and what Luqman had advised his son. And it is precisely for this reason, as I said earlier, that he has been cited in order to make these Arabs understand that if they are following Luqman, then look, the Quran is giving them the same advice and the same counsel. So, this verse 16, as you can see, it tells us that as far as God is concerned, his knowledge is all embracing, and there's nothing beyond his knowledge. And it actually is a slant on the belief of the idolaters who thought that, well, how can God keep an account of all sorts of deeds done in seclusion or maybe done where no one could reach? So they are being told that don't think that God cannot have a comprehensive knowledge of people, whether it's something in their hearts, although hearts is not mentioned here, but at other instances, we know the all embracing nature of God's knowledge has been mentioned, that everything which a person can think, which a person can intend, and wherever a person is, he or she, whatever deed done by that person is in the knowledge of God. So therefore, people must not think that they can hide from God. And this is a lesson, dear viewers, that we can learn in this holy month of Ramadan in a very effective way. So we all know that in this holy month, in spite of the fact that we can maybe go to a secluded place, maybe in our kitchen or somewhere, and break our fast, we know that even the most wicked of people, when they keep a fast, they don't break it secretly. Why? because every one of us and every human being thinks that he is being watched by God. So although no one may be watching a person and he or she can break the fast, but everyone knows that God is watching him or her. So therefore, you see how this accountability sets forth in us in this month of Ramadan, because all of us, we feel, we think that we just cannot hide from God. So it is precisely this point which Luqman is making here, that whatever you do, wherever you do, you are under God's observation and He is watching over you. Don't think that you can hide. And as you yourself acknowledge, for example, in the month of Ramadan, that if no one is watching us, we all do sincerely believe that God is watching us, and hence whatever deed we do and whatever thing we do cannot be hidden from the eyes of God. So this is the first lesson that Luqman has stated here in this opening verse, and he goes on to say, "Ya bunayya aqim as-salat wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar wasbir 'ala ma asabak inna zalika min azmi al-umur." So as you can see, some of the very important and basic things of religion are stated here. The first being, be diligent in the prayer, urge what is good and forbid what is evil, or forbid evil. And whatever mishap strikes you in this path, be steadfast on it. So the thing that can become absolutely evident here is that the prayer or salat is not something that began with Prophet Muhammad as is erroneously understood. It is something that was offered ages before. We know Prophet Abraham had offered a salat. In fact, we know from history that the first person to offer salat or namaz or the prayer was Prophet Adam himself. And the prayer timings that we observe these days were the very ones on which the earlier prophets of God, they prayed, they offered the prayer, and at the same time, they asked their followers also to offer the prayer. So what is being said here first is that be diligent in the prayer. So the word that you can see, which is used in the Quran, is Ya bunayya aqim salat, or son, be punctual in the prayer or be diligent in the prayer. And this word aqim actually has a host of meanings attached to it. It starts off by the fact that we have to be diligent in the sense that the time should always be observed. At the same time, we must concentrate on the prayer and in the prayer as much as possible and not let our thoughts wander from one place to another. And we do find often that it is in the prayer that we make all sorts of plans and all sorts of thoughts come to us. But it's an effort that we have to continuously make. And we have suggested this earlier on as well in one of our earlier sessions, that in order to concentrate on the prayer as much as we can, the primary thing is that we must know what we are reading in the prayer, what we are uttering in the prayer, because unless we know what we are uttering, we cannot focus ourselves. Similarly, if we are able to offer the prayer or read the prayer in a slightly audible tone, I mean, so that what we are uttering is heard by our own ears. We should not offer the prayer in our heart. We should not read the utterances of the prayer in our heart. Rather, we should utter them, recite them from our lips so that our own ears can hear them. And this also is a means of concentration. Needless to say that something that we discussed earlier on as well, that the prayer itself is a place or is an instance in which we can connect to God in our own language as well. So barring 5 instances in the prayer that have to be uttered in Arabic, because this is something that unites the whole ummah, there is a very large portion of the prayer in which you can say anything that comes to your mind in your own language. It could be of the sort of expressing gratitude to God, asking for forgiveness, glorifying Him, or making dua. So the 5 instances that have to be said in Arabic at all cost, one of them is Allahu Akbar. Whenever you say Allahu Akbar, we say this at various instances. The second, of course, is Surah Fatiha. The third is the surah that we recite after Surah Fatiha. The fourth is Sami Allahu liman hamida, and the fifth is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So these are the 5 instances that have to be said in Arabic. Other than that, I mean, you have a whole arena of opportunity. For example, when you're sitting in a tahiyat, I mean, this whole time that you're sitting, you can say anything in your own language. Similarly, while kneeling and prostrating, again, you have the leverage to say whatever you want to. When you start the prayer, when you normally say Subhanakallahumma, that too is an instance in which you can say anything that comes to your mind in your own language. So you see, if we are able to understand, we can really enjoy praying, because now we can mix the prayer with our own language, and of course with the Arabic that we all normally know and have learned by heart. So these are some of the tips that can make us more regular and more attentive in the prayer, which is what is implied here, that aqimis ya bunayya aqimis salat. And then the next thing which is mentioned is wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha anil munkar. So remember, the word ma'ruf and munkar in the Arabic language does not refer to religious right or religious wrong. It refers to universal right and universal wrong. So anything which is universally regarded to be good, anything which is universally regarded to be correct and acknowledged as a good deed is what we call maruf. For example, speaking the truth, being just, being honest, respecting other people. So all these universal ethics or universal norms is what we call maruf. And universal evils, for example, lying and cheating and defrauding, embezzling, being dishonest. So all these negative traits which every single human being acknowledges to be a wrong thing, they are called munkar. So maruf and munkar refer to what is morally good and what is morally evil, and it is acknowledged by the entire mankind, by entire all human beings, not just Muslims, but the whole entire human family acknowledges something to be good, that is maruf, and what is opposite to it is munkar. So what this verse actually says is that whenever you get an opportunity to speak about morality, do make your impact felt. Wherever you can, make a difference if you are able to. Wherever you can have an impact, it could be your friends, it could be your close confidants, it could be your siblings, it could be your family members, it could be your friends. Wherever you think that you can talk about righteousness and have an impact in that, then we must not withhold ourselves. And the best way to do so is to actually become an embodiment of the universal good and truths that we'd like to preach other people. So this is a fundamental responsibility which not only Luqman spoke in his own times, but Islam has actually furthered and said that as far as enjoining good and forbidding evil is concerned, and good and evil, of course, here refers to universally acknowledged moral good and universally acknowledged immoral things. So the Quran says that as far as these goods are concerned and these evils are concerned, that it is our responsibility. And then if we are inflicted with any calamity or with any suffering because we tread the path of truth here, then the Quran says that be steadfast, be patient. The word in Arabic, the word sabr is not, it's not something that comes out of helplessness or as if it's an expression of our weakness. Sabr in Arabic actually means to stare the calamity in the eye, to actually be resilient, to be steadfast, to be perseverant. So this is what sabr means. And then the Quran says, Inna zalika min azmil umur, that if we are able to do this, then this is the tasks these are among the tasks which have been emphasized. So adhering to the prayer and at the same time enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil is a responsibility that we should actually exercise. But of course, with all prudence, with all wisdom. It should not be done in a haphazard way. It should not be done in a way that we just go through the motions. It should be done at the right instance. The next thing which is mentioned is وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Be not indifferent to people and walk not arrogantly on the land, because God does not like the arrogant and the conceited. So again, something that all of us would acknowledge, that showing indifference to people, not caring about them, being negligent about our duties towards them, this is something that must be avoided at all costs. And to walk arrogantly in the land, that of course is something that should always be avoided. We spoke of this earlier on as well, when at one instance the Quran did say, إِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا, and just before that, the Quran has said, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ حَوْنًا, that the servants of the Most Merciful, they walk humbly on earth. So La Tamshi fil Ardi Maraha is the exact opposite to that, that instead of being humble, we should be, instead of being humble, we should not being humble, we should always be humble and never ever be arrogant in our gait. Because God does not like people who are conceited and who are proud. Waqsid fi mashika waghzuz min sautika. Again, it's exactly the same thing that has been emphasized upon us, that be moderate in your gait. Don't put up the appearance of a person who is walking arrogantly. Be modest in your gait, and your voice should be toned down. Don't speak in a tone in a way that would make the other person feel as if you are trying to belittle that person. And your voice should be soft. Your voice should be toned down, because the hideous of voices is the braying of the donkey. So just as we would never like a person who would speak the way a donkey is brays, so in the same manner, we should not speak in a harsh tone. We should not speak in an amplified tone. Our speech should be soft. Our speech should be gentle. So you can see here near the end of the passage how importantly the Quran is emphasized, that as far as we are concerned, our gait should be modest. We should not walk in a way that makes the other person feel as if we are very arrogant, and our tone and our voice. So these are the two things that we encounter in a person when we meet that person. We look at the way he or she has come towards us, and we look at the way how he or she would talk to us. And both these things have an impact on our own personality. So it has been said here that that should be done in a very proper way, and in no way should it give the impression that a person is thinking or is full of himself, or is thinking others as inferior to himself. So with this, we come to an end to this passage, and we are now open to any questions.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I do not see any raised hands right now. If anybody has any questions pertaining to the passage that we studied today, please raise your hands. Rabia Jamil, please unmute your mic and ask your question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to ask a question about the arrogant walk being discussed here. As we all know that there are specific walking styles of every person. So I have my own walking style. So what if I'm walking and someone, it seemed rude and it seemed arrogant to someone, and in my mind, I am clear. My intention.
I get your question. Yes. You see, it's not how other people think. I mean, other people can always have a wrong perception. It is how you should feel. Your own conscience and your own mental state should be clear, that you are walking in a way which is humble, and you're in no way walking in a way that you're trying to impose yourself or putting up a show of arrogance. So as long as you are convinced from your own self or from your inside, that is sufficient, because it's difficult to satisfy people. So basically, we know that a person who is walking humbly on earth, because you see this humility that you can see in a person's gait, how does it come to play? It actually reflects your inner personality. If you're humble from inside, then you'll automatically walk in a way that's going to reflect that humility. And that reflection can vary from a person to person. It's not that we have a stereotype style of walking. No, it could be different for different people. The thing is that the impression in that walk should not be in a way. It should not be given in a way that you think that you are superior to each other or to other people. And we know that such gaits, I mean, the way a person would walk with his arms outstretched, or maybe his chest outstretched, or maybe in a way that you are strutting the way people do. So I think it's something that we all know from our own conscience. And as long as we don't go against our conscience, I think that should be fine.
Imran Khan, please unmute your mic and ask your question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. So my question pertains to Amar bil Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar part of the ayat which you have referred. Sir, we have seen generally the people have their own definition of certain things. For example, corruption or nepotism. If you tell somebody that it is correct or it is illegal, so they have their own definition that they say, oh, it's not corruption. It is not nepotism. Is more of a networking sort of a thing. So although these two principles, the corruption and nepotism, are universally acknowledged that they are not good in a society. But if you tell somebody not to do it, he will say, no, this is part of a business, and in the world, you can't survive without it. So your comments on the part
I think
of this?
this should not be a problem, because you see, your duty and your responsibility is that wherever you can make an impact, wherever you think that the person you're talking to is going to listen to you, I think you should just give your opinion. And if the other person does not budge, or if he has a different opinion or she has a different opinion, I mean, everyone is entitled to an opinion, and for that, he or she is answerable to God. So your duty should be that wherever you can make an impact, wherever you think that the person is going to listen to you, wherever you think that your voice could be heard or can be heard, you should do your own duty, and then forget about or don't worry about the results, because results are not in our hands. But the thing which is very important is that we should always, we should always be very wise and prudent in advising other people. And this is important because, you see, unless a person is willing to hear to you, you just cannot force yourself upon that person. So wait for the opportune time, wait for the right time to strike or to say what you have in mind. And if that time does not arise, then be patient and wait for more, because we have a habit of delivering whatever we have in our mind without giving due regard to the situation. So that should not be the case.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Fatma Malik, please go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to ask a question based on the start of the lecture when you said that you can pray in whatever language you want. So what I'm wondering is, can you, like, would you have to then translate like Subhanakallahumma into your own language, or do you just start praying like, oh God, give me this, give me this? How
Oh,
would you
yes. You don't,
incorporate
when I said, it's not that you can pray in your own language. I just said that there are 5 instances that have to be uttered in Arabic. The rest you can say in your own language. So that is not, that was not meant to be a translation of what is to be said in Arabic. It could be anything that comes to your mind of the nature of maybe making dua, maybe thanking God, maybe glorifying Him, maybe expressing repentance. So, anything, any structure of words that comes to your mind. It's not that you have to translate the Arabic words that are originally said at those instances into your own language. So that's not what is implied. The only 5 instances are the ones that you have to say in Arabic. Other than those 5 instances, anything that comes to your mind of the nature of glorifying God or thanking Him or expressing your desire for something, making dua, can be expressed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Shabana, please go ahead with your question. Thank you.
السلام علیکم جی میرا سوال بھی آج کی جو آیات بتائیں گی وَأَمِرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهِي عَنِ الْمُنْکَرِ، ٹھیک ہے. اس سے مجھے یہ سمجھ آئی بھی ہے کچھ عرصے سے کہ ٹو بیکم این ایمبوڈیمنٹ آف گڈ کوالٹیز. لیکن میری ایک دوست ہیں، آج صبح ہی وہ ایک اور اسکول آف تھاٹ، وہ مجھے کہہ رہی ہیں کہ آؤ میرے ساتھ مل کر دین کا کام کرتے ہیں. تو تھوڑا سا اس میں مجھے گائیڈ کریں کہ میں ان کو کیسے رپلائی کروں اور میں کیا کروں. شکریہ.
نہیں، اب یہ تو معلوم نہیں کہ وہ دین کا کیا کام کرنا چاہ رہی ہیں. آپ ان سے معلوم کریں، اور اگر آپ اس میں کوئی تعاون کر سکتی ہیں، آپ سمجھتی ہیں کہ آپ کا بھی ایپٹیٹیوڈ ہے، تو آپ ضرور تعاون کیجئے. اس کا تعلق تو اس چیز سے ہے نا کہ آپ سے وہ کیا چاہتی ہیں.
وہ یہ چاہتی ہیں کہ میں لوگوں کو تجوید سکھاؤں اور لوگوں کو دعائیں سکھاؤں اور لوگوں کو
آپ سکھائیں کہ وہ سکھائیں؟
میں سکھاؤں.
تو دیکھیں، آپ کی مرضی ہے. اگر آپ سمجھتی ہیں کہ لوگ موجود ہیں، کوئی کلاس ہے جس کو آپ پڑھا سکتی ہیں، تو یہ تو آپ کی مرضی ہے. آپ کرنا چاہیں تو ضرور کریں، نہیں کرنا چاہیں تو کوئی آپ کو فورس نہیں کر سکتا.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
ایک سیکنڈ.
Do you want me to come back to you?
نہیں، لیکن میرا اس ورڈز کے بارے میں نہیں ہے، تو اگر کسی کا ہے تو وہ پہلے پوچھیں.
Okay, I'll ask you in the end. Lubna, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
جی السلام علیکم.
وعلیکم السلام.
اچھا، جو یہ آخری آیت پڑھی ہے آپ نے جس میں یہ کہا کہ سب سے بری آواز گدھے کی آواز ہے، تو میں یہ جاننا چاہ رہی ہوں کہ یہ اس چیز کو بیس بنا کے بہت سارے لوگ گدھے کو برا بھی کہتے ہیں، اور یہ کہا شاید روایت بھی ہے کہ اس کی آواز میں اعوذ باللہ پڑھنا چاہیے کیونکہ شیطان ہوتا ہے. تو میں جاننا چاہ رہی ہوں پلیز.
نہیں، ایسی کوئی بات نہیں ہے کہ کہا جائے کہ گدھا کوئی برا جانور ہے چونکہ اس کی آواز بہت بری ہے. یہ تو صرف مثال دی جا رہی ہے کہ بعض آوازیں آپ کو بہت بری لگتی ہیں. یعنی ہم بھی جب گدھا جو ہے وہ آواز نکال رہا ہوتا ہے تو وہ آواز عام طور سے ہمیں پسند نہیں آتی. یعنی ہم اس کے برعکس دیکھتے ہیں کہ گائے کی آواز ہو یا کتے کی آواز ہو، وہ ہمیں اتنی بری نہیں لگتی. لیکن گدھے کی آواز ہر انسان کو اچھی نہیں لگتی. تو یہ گدھے کی برائی نہیں ہو رہی. یہاں تو گدھے کو تو اللہ تعالیٰ نے جیسا بنایا وہ ویسے ہی ہے. یہ تو صرف مثال کے طور پہ کہا جا رہا ہے کہ جیسے آپ کو فلاں کی آواز پسند نہیں ہے تو آپ کو بھی اس طرح کی آواز نہیں نکالنی چاہیے. تو اس سے کوئی گدھے کی حد تک مقصود نہیں ہے، نہ گدھے کو کوئی برا جانور کہنا مقصود ہے. یہ تو ایسے ہی ہے کہ جیسے بعض آوازیں آپ کو قدرت کی بہت ساری آوازیں ہیں، بہت سارے اور پرندوں کی آوازیں ہیں جو آپ جب وہ آتی ہیں ان کی نیچرل آوازیں ہیں جو آپ کو پسند نہیں ہوں گی یا ہمیں پسند نہیں ہوں گی. تو یہ تو اصل میں صرف یہ بتانا مقصود ہے کہ جیسے وہ آواز آپ کو پسند نہیں ہے تو ایسے نہ ہو کہ آپ بھی وہی آواز یا اس طرح کی آواز دوسرے لوگوں کے لیے نکالیں. اس سے کوئی گدھے کی کسی طرح سے بھی اس کو حد تک ضرورت نہیں ہے، یا اس کو کم تر جانور سمجھنے کی ضرورت نہیں. یہ تو ایک اللہ تعالیٰ کی طرف سے دی ہوئی آواز ہے. وہ ایسا تو نہیں ہے نا کہ کوئی اختیار سے اس آواز کو نکالتا ہو.
تھینک یو ڈاکٹر سلیم. منیزہ آپ اپنا سوال کر لیجیے. منیزہ if you want to unmute your mic and ask your question. اوکے ہاں اچھا نادیہ پلیز آسک یور کوسچن نا.
جی السلام علیکم ڈاکٹر شہزاد. مجھے یہ پوچھنا تھا کہ جیسے جن نمازوں میں مصحف ہاتھ میں لے کے مطلب میں شروع سے قرآن کا جو بھی کروں تو منیمم کتنی آیتیں ریکمینڈڈ ہے پڑھنا؟
دیکھ کوئی اس کی حد نہیں ہے، نہ کوئی اس کی کمی ہے نہ بیشی ہے. آپ جتنی کمفرٹیبلی پڑھ سکتے ہیں. اس کا تعلق تو اس سے ہے کہ اصل میں دیکھیے جو چیز مقصود ہے وہ قیام ہے، قیام اللیل آپ اس کو ہم کہتے ہیں. تو اس کو آپ جتنا لمبا کر سکیں، جتنا کمفرٹیبلی لمبا کر سکیں. مقصد یہ نہیں کہ آپ خامخواہ میں گھسیٹیں. یہ ہے کہ چونکہ مقصد یہ ہے کہ زیادہ ٹائم اللہ تعالیٰ کے قرآن سے ہم کے ساتھ بسر کریں، تو جتنا بھی آپ زیادہ کر سکتے ہیں. لیکن
اتنا
بہرحال
منیمم کوئی نہیں ہے نا، مطلب ایک
نہیں
رکعت میں؟
نہیں
وہ میرا
آپ کی اپنی
مقصد تھا.
مرضی ہے. آپ کی اپنی مرضی ہے. جتنا بھی آپ کمفرٹیبلی پڑھیں اور اپنے آپ کو جانچ لیں کہ اپنے آپ کو تھکائیں نہ، تاکہ یہ ایک تسلسل کا عمل ہے. آپ کو اگر روز بھی کرنا ہے تو ایسا نہ ہو کہ ایک دن آپ اتنا کر بیٹھیں کہ اگلے دن آپ کو دل ہی نہ چاہے.
جی تھینک یو.
تھینک یو ڈاکٹر سلیم. شبنم پلیز اپنا سوال کر لیجیے.
جی تھینک یو. سر مجھے پوچھنا تھا کہ یہ جو فطرانہ ہوتا ہے جو عید کی نماز سے پہلے دینا ہوتا ہے، ہم اس کو کتنا ارلی دے سکتے ہیں؟ مطلب لاسٹ عشرے میں دے سکتے ہیں؟ کیونکہ
بالکل
بہت
آپ
سارے ڈیزرونگ لوگوں کے ساتھ.
پورے رمضان میں کسی وقت دے سکتے ہیں. ضروری نہیں ہے کہ آپ آخری
اچھا
وقت کا انتظار کریں. آپ رمضان کے دوران دے
رائٹ
سکتے
سر، جب بھی ڈیزرونگ لوگ مل جائے ہم دے دیں
ہیں.
انہیں
جی
اپنا
بالکل
جو
آپ دے
سارے.
سکتے ہیں. جی
ٹھیک
جی
ہے
جی
رائٹ
بالکل.
سر. تھینک یو
جی
سو مچ سر. جزاک اللہ.
تھینک یو. منیزہ اپنا سوال کر لیجیے.
جی السلام علیکم. میں پوچھنا چاہ رہی تھی کہ نماز میں آپ کہتے ہیں جب پڑھتے ہیں تھوڑا اونچا پڑھنا چاہیے تاکہ آپ اپنے آپ کو سن سکو.
جی
تو کبھی ایسے ہوتا ہے کہ آپ کے ساتھ کوئی اور بھی نماز پڑھ رہا ہوتا ہے تو میں تو
ہاں
کوشش کرتی ہوں کہ اونچا نہ پڑھوں کہ دوسرا بندہ
نہیں
ڈسٹرب نہ
وہ
ہوا یا ان
جی
کی
جی وہ
نماز
تو
کا
آپ
نہ.
ٹھیک کہہ رہی ہیں. میری مراد تھی جب آپ تنہا پڑھ رہے ہوں، جب آپ اکیلے پڑھ رہے ہوں. جب آپ کے کوئی ساتھ ہوتا ہے تو ظاہر ہے آپ پھر اس وقت احتیاط کرتے ہیں. لیکن اس میں بھی یہ ہوتا ہے کہ اگر آپ کی جو ہونٹ ہے نا وہ تھوڑے سے ہلیں، لپس اگر آپ کے موو کریں تو کانسنٹریشن پھر بھی رہتی ہے. اصل میں ہم دل میں پڑھتے ہیں، تو دل میں پڑھنے کے نتیجے میں آپ کے خیالات منتشر ہو سکتے ہیں. اگر آپ کی ہونٹ تھوڑے سے ہلتے رہیں، بے شک آواز بہت ہی کم ہو کہ آپ کو سنائی دے، تو اس کا امکان ہوتا ہے کہ چونکہ آپ ایک چیز اپنے ہونٹوں سے بول رہے ہیں کہ آپ کی توجہ کم بٹے. نہیں ہونے کو تو پھر بھی بٹ سکتی ہے، لیکن ذرا امکان ہوتا ہے.
تھینک یو ڈاکٹر سلیم.
تھینک یو.
علی رسول پلیز سوال کر لیجیے.
Assalamu alaikum, Ustad. I got a question about Qiyam al-Layl, Ustad. So I usually read a lot of Quran in the morning after Fajr or around Tahajjud. But for Qiyam al-Layl, if I have to read, since I'm not a Hafiz, what can I do? Can I hold my phone in my hands and just recite? Because I want to be able to do the Qiyam al-Layl plus also read Quran, not just do the usual last 10 ayats.
Actually, that's what we were discussing just about a while ago. That either you can read from your Musaf, which is you can hold the Quran, or maybe you can hold the phone or anything, maybe your tablet, whichever thing has the Quran in it. So that would be something of great benefit to you, because now you can read for a longer period of time.
Right. Okay. Because I read the hadith that Prophet used to do a long recitation of Quran, and because our memorization is limited.
Right.
So okay. Shukran. Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Omar, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
السلام علیکم سر. اگر مجبوراً آدھا یا اس سے بھی زیادہ روزہ سو کے گزر جائے تو ایک تو گلٹی فیلنگ بھی آتی ہے، اور اس میں کیا ہم افطار کو ڈیلے کر سکتے ہیں اس کو؟
نہیں افطار تو وقت بھی کریں، اگلے دن سونے کی کم کوشش کریں. انسان سے غلطی ہو جاتی ہے تو غلطی کا مطلب یہ ہوتا ہے کہ فیوچر کے لیے وہ اس سے لرن کرتا ہے. اگر آپ آج یا کسی ایک دن آپ کا روزہ سوتے میں گزر گیا ہے تو اگلے آئندہ سے کوشش کریں. تو افطار کا وقت تو آپ تبدیل نہیں کر سکتے، نہ سحری کا وقت تبدیل کر سکتے ہیں. یہ تو شریعت کی طرف سے مقرر ہیں. البتہ جیسے میں نے کہا اگر کسی وقت کوتاہی ہو جائے تو کوشش کریں کہ آئندہ ریپیٹ نہ ہو. یہ امید اللہ تعالیٰ پکڑ نہیں کریں گے اس میں.
سر لیکن اگر روٹین ہی ایسی بن جائے، مجبوراً ایسی روٹین ہو کام کی وجہ سے یا
کوشش کریں.
ویسے،
دیکھیں کوشش کریں. ایسا انسان جتنا کوشش کر سکتا ہے اتنی کوشش کرنی چاہیے. اس کی وجہ یہ کہ بعض لوگ واقعی ایسا ہوتا ہے کہ ان کو رات کے وقت کام کرنا ہوتا ہے، وہ رات کے وقت جاگے ہوئے ہوتے ہیں، اس وجہ سے ان کا روزہ جو ہے وہ اس کا کچھ حصہ سوتے ہوئے گزرتا ہے. تو یہ ایک بعض دفعہ کام کی مجبوری بھی ہوتی ہے. تو ہر انسان اپنی مجبوری کو خود بہتر اسیس کر سکتا ہے کہ کہاں وہ مجبور ہے اور کہاں وہ اپنی مجبوری میں کچھ روٹین چینج کر سکتا ہے. یہ ایک آپ کا اپنا پرسنل فیصلہ ہے اور آپ کا خدا کا معاملہ ہے.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Fatma Malik, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hanji. Assalamu alaikum again. I just wanted to ask, can you read the translation of Quran without wuzu? Because women, like when they're not fasting, I just want to know what they can do.
سو دیکھیں ایک خاتون جو ہے اگر کسی بھی سچویشن میں ہے ایون اف شی از پاسنگ تھرو ہر پیریڈس یا مثال کے طور پہ ان کو وضو نہیں ہے تو وہ مصحف کو پکڑ سکتے ہیں اور نماز پڑھ سکتے ہیں. ہمارے ہاں ایک ایرونیس ویو ہے کہ اگر ایک خاتون نے وضو نہیں کیا ہوا اینڈ فار دیٹ میٹر کسی مرد نے وضو نہیں کیا ہوا, یہ خاتون از پاسنگ تھرو اے سائیکل تو وہ قرآن کو ٹچ نہیں کر سکتے. ایسی کوئی بات نہیں ہے. قرآن مجید سے اور سنت کی جو اسٹیبلش سننا ہے اس سے جو یہ معلوم ہوتا ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ جب ایک خاتون اپنی سائیکل سے گزر رہی ہو تو وہ صرف 3 چیزیں ہیں جن کو وہ نہیں کر سکتی. 3 چیزیں پروہیبٹڈ ہیں, باقی ہر چیز آپ پہ الاؤڈ ہے. ایک یہ کہ طواف آپ نہیں کر سکتے اگر آپ حج پہ گئے ہوئے ہیں, دوسرا یہ کہ آپ نماز نہیں پڑھیں گے, اور تیسرا یہ کہ آپ روزہ نہیں رکھیں گے. دیٹس آل. اس کے علاوہ قرآن پڑھنے پہ ہرگز کوئی پابندی نہیں ہے. چاہے آپ اگر آپ یاد ہے تو آپ سینے سے پڑھیں, اگر آپ کو مصحف اٹھا کے پڑھنا ہے آپ مصحف اٹھا کے پڑھیں, اگر آپ ٹیچر ہیں تو آپ ایز اے ٹیچر پڑھائیں. اس پہ قطعاً کوئی پابندی نہیں ہے. یہ ہمارے سب کانٹیننٹ کی کچھ ایسی روایات ہیں جس میں ہم پھنسے ہوئے ہیں, اور ایک ضعیف روایت بھی ہے اس سلسلے میں جس کی وجہ سے لوگ اس کو سمجھتے ہیں. ورنہ صرف یہ 3 چیزیں اسٹیبلشڈ ہیں سنت سے. میں دہرا دیتا ہوں, نماز, روزہ اور طواف. یہ 3 ہیں جو ایک خاتون اپنے مخصوص ایام میں نہیں کر سکتی. باقی تمام مطلب جتنی بھی حالتیں اور حیثیتیں ہیں اس پہ وہ قرآن کو چھو بھی سکتی ہیں اور پڑھ بھی سکتی ہیں. اور وضو کرنے کے بارے میں بتا دوں کہ وضو کرنا قرآن پڑھنے کے لیے ہرگز کوئی شرط نہیں ہے.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleem. Thank you for a wonderful session. We are at 9:31, all out of time. Inshallah, we'll resume our session tomorrow. Thank you everyone for participating.